are watching Channel Adrian TV.
Yo YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, X. Welcome to another Warriors Origins reaction video. And this one deals with the Destroyers, one of the rivals from the Warriors that also come from the same area, Coney Island. And if y'all don't know, The Warriors is one of my favorite movies. I'm doing a series of reaction videos to Real Reels, who's doing each gang from the movie. Now this has no tie to the original movie. He's using his own creative angle to come up with these stories. And a lot of Warrior fans like myself wish they would either reboot the series or do something with the Warriors story, because there's a lot of people who are still fans of this movie still to this day. And at the end of this reaction series, I plan to watch the movie with y'all and just react and chill and watch the movie with y'all. The title of this video is The Kings of Coney, The Rise and Ruin of the Destroyers. Now you don't see the Destroyers a lot in the original movie, but if you played the Warriors video game when it did come out for PS2, you did see the Destroyers a lot. But without further ado, let's get into the reaction video.
On the boardwalk, we rule the night. Blue denim vests in the neon light. East Coney's ours, no one dares to cross. Step on our block, you're already lost. We're the destroyers, breaking down the walls. Run these streets.
Before the Warriors ruled Coney Island, another name carried fear through the streets. The Destroyers. They had the numbers, the turf, and the reputation, but their empire didn't last. Drugs, paranoia, and betrayal tore them apart. Tonight, we uncover the rise and fall of Coney's first kings.
Every bar, from the corner games to the boulevard.
Before the Warriors claimed Coney Island, there was another name that ruled the boardwalks, rooftops, and back.
And that's the game I was talking about for PS2. I wish Sony, PlayStation, please bring back the Warriors game, like have it digitally remastered for PS5 so we could download it. Because if they did, I would honestly, I know it would be tough to find time, but I would probably do the game walkthrough with y'all just to add more content to this channel. But this was the game I was talking about when it dropped for PS2. And I remember me and my friend Harry, we played this whole game. I think we beat it in like 2 to 3 days or something like that when it came out.
Alleys. The Destroyers. Feared, respected, and, at one time, even admired. But like every empire, their reign was fragile. Drugs, paranoia, and betrayal ripped them apart. And it all began with their warlord, Virgil. Virgil wasn't always a warlord. He grew up in Coney Island in the late 60s, early 70s, when the neighborhood was rough, jobs were scarce, and young men were constantly pulled into crime. Virgil's father reportedly worked the rides on the boardwalk, but lost his job when the amusement park started shutting down. His mother struggled with alcoholism. By age 15, Virgil was already hustling dice games on the corners and running errands for local dealers.
And see, one thing I do love about the angle that Real Reels is using is because all of these stories, the culture, the pop culture, the history, and a lot of these situations are relatable to a lot of people. Like he said, this Virgil losing his father, his mom having an alcohol problem, him running to the streets. How many times do we hear this story from different people, from different cultures, different parts of the world? This is why I'd say I wish not necessarily Real Reels, but somebody who owns the rights. I think Paramount Pictures own the rights to the Warriors to reboot this series, because the traction it's getting on YouTube, I know people would watch it on Netflix or Hulu on one of those streaming channels.
He was smart, charismatic, but also volatile. Someone who could charm 1 minute and explode the next. He fought constantly in schoolyards and on the boardwalk, earning a reputation as someone you didn't cross. By 1973, Virgil had gathered a small crew of neighborhood kids who looked up to him for protection. This was the seed that would become the Destroyers. Some claimed Virgil had an older brother who OD'd in Brighton Beach, fueling his obsession with control and fear of betrayal. Others whispered Virgil once tried to run numbers for the Italian mob, but his temper got him blacklisted. By 1974, Virgil's small street crew began calling themselves the Destroyers. The name came from a scrawled tag Virgil used to write on walls: destroy or be destroyed. At this stage, they weren't the drug-fueled gang we later know. They were more like Coney's protectors, driving out rival kids from other neighborhoods.
And if y'all miss it, that's why they came up with the name Destroyers. Either you're going to destroy your competition or the people holding you back or in your way, or you're going to become destroyed, which makes sense.
First colors were simple denim vests, cheap, rugged, uniform. The patch came later, but the denim was already their calling card. Their first headquarters wasn't the legendary East Coney building yet. It was an abandoned arcade with busted machines. Virgil declared it the new temple. By 1975, their numbers swelled. Word spread. If you were from Coney and needed protection, you went to the Destroyers. If you were from outside and tried to move in, you'd get beaten back. Some saw this as noble. Others saw the beginning of Coney's first dictatorship. Were the Destroyers ever honorable? Yes, at the start. Before drugs, before paranoia, they were respected. Some older heads compared them to the Saracens in discipline. The Destroyers began as Coney Island's first real organized gang, uniting African American and Caucasian kids tired of being pushed out by outsiders. They wore blue denim waistcoats with their emblem, a mark of unity and intimidation. Their base was a large building in East Coney, walls covered in graffiti, most famously a mural of Virgil himself. Early days, they were disciplined, more like what the Warriors would become, patrolling streets, keeping order, respected as much as feared. By 1977, under Virgil's leadership, they became synonymous with drug dealing, gambling, extortion, and a reputation for cold brutality. Key question: who were the Destroyers and why were they feared? They controlled every block of East Coney, every bar, every storefront. Anyone who crossed them was either beaten, senseless, or forced out. Unlike the Warriors, they had no moral compass, just survival and power. Rumor. Some say the early Destroyers did try to protect their neighborhoods from outside crews, but once Virgil started dealing coke, their honor disappeared.
Which, if you notice, a lot of mob stories, gang stories, once they started dealing drugs, especially coke, crack, when it started to deteriorate their own area, their own community. I hate to say customers, but it is what it is. That's where you see the downfall of all of those gangs. That's why would you see certain different races of gangs were saying, we won't sell it to our people, but we would sell it to other people. So once again, I like how Real Reels is tying in real life situations and real life examples. Like I said, drugs is part of pop culture, regardless if you want to accept it or not.
By spring 1978, Virgil was in his mid-20s, running Coney with absolute control. But the respect his crew once had was slipping. Drugs, alcohol, and paranoia were eating away at him. Virgil's cocaine habit made him erratic. He convinced himself that his war chief Cleon and loyal soldier Vermin were plotting behind his back. In truth, Cleon was one of his best lieutenants, disciplined, respected, and loyal until pushed too far. Virgil arranged a set-up drug deal with the Satan's mothers, hoping Cleon and Vermin would be taken out. Instead, the plan failed. Cleon and Vermin survived. This betrayal was the breaking point. Cleon confronted Virgil in front of other destroyers, calling him unfit to lead. The two nearly came to blows. Cleon, Vermin, Swan, and Cowboy walked away from the gang that night.
And as you do know, those names are familiar because they're warriors. And on PS2 in the story mode, you actually get to live out how Virgil and them used to be destroyers and get set up by the Satan mothers. So once again, a nice tie-in by Real Reels to add that storyline from the game into this video.
Key question, why did Cleon, Vermin, Swan, and Cowboy leave? Because Virgil's paranoia and addiction turned leadership into dictatorship. Cleon wanted honor. Virgil wanted control. That split birthed the Warriors. On May 6, 1978, Cleon and his new brother struck back. They stormed Destroyer's turf in West Coney, forcing businesses to pay them instead of Virgil. They seized a warehouse hangout, LC's old spot, transforming it into the Warriors' permanent base. In the months that followed, defectors from the Destroyers, disgusted with Virgil's leadership, flocked to Cleon. This included Ajax and Snow, who earned their Warriors vests after brutal trials. The Destroyers' numbers dwindled. Those who stayed became more dependent on alcohol and drugs, losing their edge. How did they compare to the Warriors? At their peak, the Destroyers had raw numbers, territory, and fear. But the Warriors had discipline, unity, and vision. By 1979, they were equals, if not stronger. A year-long war raged across Coney. Back alleys, subway platforms, rooftops. Every corner saw battles between Destroyers and Warriors. Virgil, increasingly unstable, led fewer raids himself. Rumors spread he was hiding behind lieutenants, high and paranoid. In late '78, the Destroyers ambushed Ash, a Warrior's new blood, and killed him. This was a turning point. Cleon swore vengeance. In spring 1979, the Warriors stormed Virgil's HQ. The final showdown ended with Virgil burned alive by a Molotov cocktail. His mural was left scorched and defaced. The DJ announced the Warriors' victory on the radio, mocking the Destroyers with the line, "Nothing lasts forever." What happened to the Destroyers? With Virgil dead, their HQ in ruins and their turf seized, the Destroyers were finished. Some ex-members defected to other gangs. Others hung up their colors in shame. The gang never recovered. The Destroyers never showed at Cyrus's big meeting. By then, they were a memory, shattered, leaderless, disgraced. Were they ever honorable? In the beginning, yes. Before Virgil's paranoia and coke habit, they were a disciplined crew. Some say if Cleon had taken over back then, the Destroyers might have been what the Warriors became. Instead, history remembers them as a cautionary tale. A gang that burned bright, then burned out.
We're the gang of war!
The Destroyers could have been legends. They had the size, the strength, and the loyalty. But poor leadership and addiction destroyed everything they built. In the end, they didn't just lose their turf, they lost their legacy. The Warriors replaced them, and the streets of Coney never looked back. Remember this, in New York, nothing lasts forever. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Warriors' origins, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Real Reels, and drop a comment with which gang you want to see us cover next. Your support keeps this story going.
And it's dope how they got the little soundtrack, a Destroyer song in the background, so the fully tie in with this video. Once again, Real Reels, what you're doing with this series, I appreciate it. I'll leave the original link in the description if you're interested in seeing this channel. And he also dropped a series to where that video in the corner stuck in the middle. I'm gonna check out the first episode and I might do reaction videos to that as well. But yeah, great storyline. And if none of you did play the Warriors game, in my personal opinion, if you're Warriors fan and do play video games and have some free time, you should. I just hope one day PS5, PlayStation, that y'all could get this game digitally remastered so we can play it on PS5. But let me know what you think about the video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.